Okay, so what we're looking at here is creating a blueprint for a street light so that when our character walks up to the street light, it turns on, and when they walk away, it turns off again. Now we just did the same for a fire. So when you walk up to there, fire turns on, and when you walk away from it, fire slowly deactivates. This is going to be much more of a hard on-off sort of thing. And then we'll look back at that one there. So same as always, right click down here, create blueprint class. I'm then going to go over here to actor, and I'm going to name this one BP underscore streetlight. As always, when I drag it in here, it's completely empty, but I'm going to keep that there just so that I can get the sizing right. So I'm going to double click on here, and you should have a window similar to this one appear. So add component, I'm going to add in a static mesh, and then over here on none, I'm going to go over to the advanced village pack street light. And as you can see, there's two here. So we're going to start first by just adding in the point light and making that turn on and off, and then we'll start looking at, okay, how can we swap out these two static meshes so that we can see the light turning on and off. But first things first, we can see this light is actually really quite big. When I press play in here, I can see it's much larger than my character. I mean, I might want it that large, but I'm actually just going to make it smaller. So I'm going to scale this down to about that. That's looking a little bit closer to what I'd want for this. Cool. So with that light there, we're now going to add another component, which is going to be the point light. So lights in here work exactly the same as they do in the level, but what I find is really important is to have a good eye on the level and actually have the blueprint in there so that you can get an idea about how bright the light actually is, because otherwise you can fall into the trap of thinking that you have your light bright enough, but it's not. And so there it is. I think that'll be good. And I'm going to take note here of the on the details panel, the intensity of that light, because what we're going to do is we're going to switch the light intensity on and off. So it's not going to fade in slowly like that, not with this one because we're looking at the very intro of blueprints, but later on we'll look at how we can make that slowly fade in. But generally speaking, we just want to add 5,000. So the other component I need in here, of course, from the other one is the box collisions. This is going to act as our trigger, and I'm going to make sure, so you might get this sort of thing happening here every time you create an object, and the problem with this is it's basically sort of nesting in there, so when I move my light, that other box here will move. If I want to change that, I'm going to left click and drag, drop it on the scene root, and go attach. And that just makes sure that the box is a separate object. So I'm going to scale this out to make sure that my character can actually collide with it. Go compile, and then I'm going to go to my event graph over here. I'm going to left click and drag to select these, press delete, and then click on my box, scroll down on the details panel to go to this second one from the bottom here, which is the on component begin overlap. Scale that back, and now we've got our event begin. So now I'm going to left click and drag off the executor line, let go, and then type in cast to third person character. Drag and drop this other actor into object. So now we have a situation here where when the character drops onto here, it'll do a thing. Just realized there's two there, so I'm just going to delete that to save confusion. And now I've got this light here. Now I can left click and drag off of here though, and go set intensity. I can see light is in the bracket here because that's what that one is. So it's just a faster way of getting to that. So new intensity, I'm going to set to 5,000. So again, you can generally do this with any of the details that are in here. So for example, if I go back to details and I say, have a look at light color, I could even set that if I wanted to. So I could go here, set light color, and there you go, set light color. So you can actually quite experiment around a little bit with this. So I'm going to actually set that to yellow. So then when it comes out, it's a yellow color there. So here at the moment, it's just a normal color, but when we collide with it, it's going to set off a chain reaction that will set that color to yellow. So let's just give this a try now. Click compile, going to minimize this and press play. So I'm going to walk up to my character here, and there you go. You have a yellow light that's appearing here. But as we can see, it doesn't really look that realistic because the light itself is still dim. So there is another component that I want to look at in here, which is called set static mesh. So at the end of this chain, I'm going to type in set static mesh. And this is essentially, if I go here to set static mesh, that's what this is doing. So I can choose from any of these static meshes here. So I'm going to go down here, go street light, lights on, go compile, and now when I press play and I walk up to there, it just swaps it out for that, which just makes it look a little bit more realistic. So that's all I wanted to do in this one. I can finish it off though just by setting off so that when you walk away it turns off again. So it's a good way of revising everything we just did. So the first thing, make sure I've got my box selected, go down here on component end overlap. So this means that when my character enters in, it does a thing. Now when they leave a thing, leave the box, it does a thing as well. So I'm just going to go copy and paste here. So Control C, Control V, left click and drag this to here, drag this other actor over to here, and that's there. And now I could pretty much copy and paste all of this as well, and put it down there. But for the sake of just sort of learning and teaching, I'm just going to go through them step by step. So here, left click and drag, set intensity for light, and set it back to 0. So I'm going to leave it there as 0. Set light color. So I can set light color and leave that blank, but I'm going to go with the light here because that then connects to that light, and set that back to, yeah, we'll go black. It doesn't really matter because the intensity will be a dense 0 anyway. And then set static mesh, and set it back to street light without the street lights on. So back to this one. And I'm just going to also take this light here and set its default value to 0, so it's not on to begin with. And then walk up, goes on, walk out, turns off, on, off. Cool. Alright, so have a go at that. I'm going to put this video up on our YouTube channel so you can watch that again slowly if you need to. And then, yeah, we'll see how you go. But again, this is just the very introduction to using blueprints to change different properties of things. So we'll look at more complicated things as we go, but just for now, this is a good place to start, just to get used to that string of logic. Excellent, we'll see you next time.